Well, today I want to take a moment to share something real, to have a real conversation with you. Yeah, really. And it's something that's, well, in the moment as of it happening, I was very meticulous about the whole process, but I was able to glean some thoughtful lessons from it, and I want to share with you. And this will resonate well with those who are now recent or fresh graduates embarking upon an employment journey, and the whole buzz that has happened with job seeking and all that. For this particular instance, I'm not going to be giving those pro tips and all that, but I just want to share my experience in an opportunity that I had to work with $1 billion company, and I blew it. Yeah, I had this opportunity to work with this global company that earns revenue in billions. As of the time we are speaking, they are number one in their industry globally in terms of what they do. For decades and possibly maybe quite the century, they have held the position of being among the top 5 in their industry. And I had a chance to work with those guys, and I flipped it. I had quite a number of other experiences, pushing and having people reach out for, this kind of vacancies, employment possibilities, jobs, and all these things, interviews, and submission of cover letters, and all those things. We have experienced them. I was really tired of trying to spread because it made me not concentrate where I was. So I decided to focus where I was, and then this particular announcement went out via the internet and all that, and I got this link sent to me by a friend, or just I think it was a random, and I look at it and I was like, one of those companies again. So I decided to just play with it. Like really, I was playing with it because some of those kind of companies, if you look at them, there's these categories they come in. You look at them and you'll be able to tell that like they wouldn't really consider like you just. So I decided to put in stuff, just fill up the form and put it, just submit it, and of course not really expecting to hear anything from there. After I had submitted that form, I had an email from the HR of that particular company that I was required to submit further documents to continue with the process. And that really startled me because, first of all, the figure that I inputted for my expectation in terms of salary, then I was joking with it, not necessarily like demeaning it, like I blew the figures there. So for that email to have come to me, I was like this, they saw the salary expectation I had and really were interested. My mind was you could. I look at this other documents that were requested. I was like, which company requests for all these things, like in line with a design role? If it was going to be for like some managerial, all those other roles, like fine, but like creative design officer, but I complied to it. It was because of this particular email that I had to go back to my senior high after leaving there for so long to go actually retrieve my transcript, my certificates, like all that for this company. So I returned afterward with this document, and I had to submit it on an appointment that they had set. This appointment that followed up was an aptitude test. So I was supposed to present these documents when coming for the aptitude test. I got there prepared for the aptitude test, and I tell you, like, I was part of me was excited about this, but part of me was like, yeah, if I don't get it, I don't really care, because as at then I had decided to focus where I was. So I got into the room where the test was supposed to, to take place, like the office location, like corporate, and the papers were set before me. Jesus. I opened the papers. What I was expecting it to be quite an aptitude test, but this one, I was like, what are they recruiting me for? I'm like, is this like a science, really? Like, I'm not exaggerating. It was a booklet. Maths, not the kind of simple maths, logic maths, science, English, like all these kind of, this PhD kind of. I was like, what? I did what I could with other people that I saw over there, and after that test, I knew within myself that if it would, let's say it was going to be marked over 100, if I really did well with whatever I did, I wouldn't get more than 30%. Like I did not even answer some things. Like I left them, like, gosh, just a design. Oh God. So after that period, I was like, yeah, these people they're not going to consider me for the particular role. Then a follow-up email came in that I was being invited for an interview virtually. I was like, wait, are these people really, like, are they taking seriously what they are, this recruitment process, or they are just following the formality? Because first of all, I stated some kind of figure that normally with businesses, especially that was situated in Ghana, UBAB, like quoting in dollars, you called me in, I went to write the aptitude test, I knew that this one, it was and you still come. I was like, something is really going on over here. This was one of the things that I would like to share as a lesson. I had prepared for the interview, and I did the research, watched all the interview, whatever videos that you could find available, just to be well abreast and not to be complacent with, I could flow, I can talk. No, just get the whole thing. I would later learn that not every kind of interview approach you find generic, is applicable to every kind of company. To explain a bit, the kind of approach you would send in an interview, you would, approach an interview for a job that, it's like, just one of those jobs, doing well, going along and all that. There is you can approach it the general way, but when it happens to be a company that is well established with systems, structures, that has been there for more than how many years, decades, possibly centuries, the approach changes. You don't, normally with the interview videos and all those things, you be confident, yourself, sell yourself. Oh God. By this time, I had watched the masterclass there's this series, if you go online, the masterclass, there's this kind of compendium of the top guys in industries teaching you stuff in their industry. So there were these guys, I've forgotten their names. They were this kind of design, advertising legends in design space and all that. And I remember one of the episodes, they shared how they went for an interview for a job or something like that, and I copied it. In their approach, they used since they were like advertising guys, they brought themselves in that way to introduce themselves like a character, like the third person. So if that would be like if I'm introducing, if I were them and I'm in the interview and I'm introducing myself like, yeah, Mauli is like that, he doesn't like this, he doesn't like that, he doesn't like this, and no. That was the approach I used though. Okay, not entirely, but like I started with that. I introduced myself by the third person. So that approach kind of like began to make people consider like, who is this guy that is trying to, Of course, I'm sure maybe if that approach was like in the Western world or something like that, maybe you could have picked, but I think for my people, they're like, who is this guy? As of now, one thing I also picked up on during that interview process that I think would be helpful to someone is that I took note of the people that were on board the interview, the panel, and pertaining to your role or the role you have been recruited for, you would be, you have the direct person or someone significant in the company that you are going to be, working in that same department, on board the interview. So I took note of that officer. I captured his name, and after the interview, I quickly searched him online. So I quickly messaged him, and my main intent for contacting him was, for him to help me, like guide me, in the process. But obviously, I think, of course, he couldn't share some things with me at the moment, but he gave me the best of guidelines at the moment. So he was, giving me some things, answering some of the questions that I asked. After the initial interview to assess my fitness into their company, whatever the ideals and all that, my interest in the role, and also my salary expectation. That was the thing that hit me the first time. Like, they asked me during the first interview that, okay, so what is your salary expectation? I was like, did you not see it over there? You get it. I had to give them a figure at that time, and which was also okay. Then stage 2, I was sent to the partner interview. After the partner interview, the partner interview was more like me meeting or being interviewed by their West African kind of director and all these things, and like, it was top level recruitment process. I tell you, like, after that second stage, there was a third stage interview. And the third stage interview was for psychometrics assessment. It was even after that third interview that I was given the invitation to participate in an online personality assessment thing. That is occupational personality questionnaire. It's a thing common in such organizations that are well established. It was interesting, but quite long. After that, I was requested to go for medical checkup, and I was like, God, that's all this. Throughout this process, I was seeking guidance from people, different levels of people about this. Not only the officer from that organization that I was in touch with, I was seeking general counsel, I took it that I didn't know, I wouldn't want to assume that I know how to go throughout all this stuff. And that was one of the lessons that I took note of after this whole thing was over, is that it is good to seek advice. It is good to seek counsel for some of these things. Like, it's very necessary. But it matters who you are seeking the counsel from. Because as sincere as those counsels were, they positioned me in a certain way that did not really help me in the long run. One of the advices, and it was a common thing that came through from different places. So I was like, if these guys are saying it, then I have to watch out for this. It was the fact that some of these companies that recruit you or engage you in this recruitment process, most of the time they are recruiting you not for themselves but for other companies. So you may not know which other company it is that they are recruiting you for. They are just like the middlemen, and you may end up entering into this kind of legalities with them to a company that you didn't or you were not aware of. And of course, since you weren't aware of that and you didn't expect that, all the conflict and everything happens in there. And most especially also in the instance that I already had a place that I was already working in, you would have to be sure that you are getting a good ground before you step out. Okay, not to go, something happens, you bend your bridge. Okay, you don't bend bridges when you're leaving. You maintain a bridge. You don't know what else is in the future. I listened to some of these advice which were sincere, helping me to be like on guard for some of these things. So in that posture, I was pushed to ask or find out certain questions from this organization. Like, I sent emails to them, I think on a couple of times to retrieve, like, to get understanding, like, to make sure that like this is really legit. And I had every reason to also be on that guard, because from the word go, some of the things that I were like, companies that I did that companies should see as a red flag, was as though, I wrote an aptitude test that I knew that like I really would not have performed like that, but you still call me. So I was like, something could be up. So I was kind of on guard. So I kept on asking them questions, and I think that began to, bring some concern for them at their end. Like, who is this guy that is probing, trying to always asking questions, trying to ask about things? And so I didn't know this. I was just innocently asking, like, just to find out, to be sure. One of the advice that I also got from some of the people that I consulted with was like, Charlie, you have to be careful about these kind of companies, because you may end up signing some contracts and some documents that could really screw you up. And those were legit concerns. And sure enough, when I probed in, there were certain kind of clauses in their contracts like that, in their employment contracts like that, not as severe as they put it over there, but at least it was something to be concerned and aware about. So yeah. All right, guys, this is where I'm going to end the first part of this whole experience that I'm sharing with you, and I will of course continue in the next part, which would soon be somewhere maybe uploaded. Anyway, don't forget to like and comment in the section below if you're liking it and enjoying it and learning from it, obviously, and also hit the notification so that when I do upload the next part, you'd be notified. All right, guys, see you on the next part. Bye.